Hi there and welcome back. We are now in week 3 in our Social Work 503 interpersonal processes here at Widener. I hope that you're having a peaceful week. This week we are going to be discussing and exploring nonviolent communication. So we are going to be focusing specifically on the work of Marshall Rosenberg. So we're going to talk all about the techniques and strategies for communicating your message in a non-threatening and nonviolent manner. So we're also going to explore the benefits of truly learning how to listen to our clients deeply and understanding pain that is communicated through violent methods of communication. So the first thing that I invite you to do is to check out our learning resources, specifically the objectives, readings, and media here. So you want to start by reviewing our weekly objectives, which we have each week, and then you want to navigate to this awesome reading by Dr. Rosenberg, all about nonviolent communication, the language of life. It is a fabulous 31-page document. Then we have here a video where you can actually see Dr. Rosenberg facilitating a nonviolent communication workshop, which I hope that you're going to enjoy. It is a lengthy one. It's about 3 hours in duration, but I have to tell you it's 3 hours that are well spent, and it is hopefully something that it's going to stay with you throughout your years of practice as a clinical social worker. It's the really foundational skills here that we're going to be reviewing. So the next thing that I invite you to do is to click on our week 3 discussion board posting all about nonviolent communication. So after watching Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication workshop video, I invite you to discuss how you might implement the principles and practices of nonviolent communication in your life and practice. And I would like you to incorporate specific references to the video and respond to both of the following prompts in your initial post. So number 1, what obstacles do you think that you would face? And number 2, how would you overcome these obstacles or barriers? So you want to make sure that you're following up with at least one classmate, preferably a classmate who doesn't yet have any responses. And in your response post, please make sure that you're addressing what have you learned from your colleague's post and what can you add to the learning. I also invite you to provide additional suggestions for how your colleague can overcome some of the obstacles that they listed. So your initial post is due on Thursday and your follow-up post is due by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, that sufficient initial posting should be a minimum of 200 words, a maximum of 500 words, and that response posting should be a minimum of 75 words and a maximum of 150 words. So for your assignment this week, you have your week 3 process notes, which are due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in your process note this week, you want to respond to the following prompts. Number 1, the dyad content and process. I invite you to reflect on what occurred in your week 2 dyad exercise, both the nonverbal communication exercise and the listening exercise, and how it occurred. So please answer all of the following prompts and questions based on your observation. Again, you want to make sure that you're using subheadings to answer each prompt below. So this piece should be approximately 1 double-spaced page long. So in content, in 2 to 3 sentences, briefly describe the topics discussed. Your response. How did you respond to your dyad partner? Again, inwardly as well as outwardly. You also want to explore the dyad effect. How did your dyad interaction affect you? Was this something that you found yourself thinking about days later? Was it something that you found yourself reactive to, either positively or negatively? I also invite you to talk about your relationship to content in 2 to 3 sentences. Describe how the dyad interaction helps you to solidify the learning of the content from this week. Now, for number 2, for the large group process, You want to reflect back on the last 2 weeks of class discussions, specifically the week 2 discussion about family and group experiences and the week 3 discussion about nonviolent communication. Did any of your peers move you emotionally or validate you? If so, in what way? So you really want to spend some time reflecting on yourself in the large group process. How did your peer responses to your post affect you? This section should be approximately 1/2 of a double space page long. And for the small group process, reflect on what occurred in the small group and how it occurred. So the process of group focuses on your role along with your own personal level of participation. So this process also involves and focuses on the other members' roles as well as their level of participation. So you want to make sure that you're answering all of the following questions based on your observations. Again, making sure that you're using subheadings. So number 1, group stage. Based on weeks 2 content on group dynamics, what stage was your group in and how do you know? So number 2, I'd like you to explore group roles. What were the roles of each group member? And describe the group members' interactions. And you want to take into consideration all of the nonverbal communication styles that we talked about in week 3. I also want to think about your role. What role did you personally play in the group? Was it your choice, or did you feel like coerced or locked into this role by another colleague or group member? Number 4, let's think about your contribution. Did you feel free to contribute freely? Please describe, especially if you felt inhibited in some way. Tell me about that in your process note. What did you feel was causing you to hold back? Or what maybe helped you feel supported to express yourself freely? So fifthly here, we're going to talk about group effects. How did the other group members affect you? Then I invite you to talk about your response. How did you respond to group members? Again, both inwardly and outwardly. Then I'd like to make sure that you explore the differences and similarities. Specifically, what differences and similarities did you notice about the processes of others? Examples include communication, conflict resolution within the group. And again, you want to pay attention to both verbals and nonverbals on that one. And lastly, for this section, you'd like to explore change. So what would you change about the group or your contribution if you could? So if you could, have a magic wand to go back in time and cause some change to occur, I want you to tell me what exactly would you change. So now for the final part of this process note, you want to have and incorporate that reading reflection, again, using that APA annotated bibliography format. So information about this, you want to make sure that you're referring back to the process note underneath the major projects and assignments. So you want to reflect on the assigned readings for weeks 2 and 3. So that again is the Morrison reading in week 2 and the Rosenberg reading in week 3 to be specific. So you want to complete the following on each of those 2 readings. Number 1, you want to summarize the main points of the reading. Number 2, reflect on what each reading meant to you. And number 3, relate the reading to practice. So you want to make sure that you number each part of your reflection according to the questions. And again, this section should be approximately 2 double-spaced pages long, 1 page per reading. So that's 1 page for the Morrison article and 1 page for the Rosenberg article. So again, I'm going to make sure that you organize your process note with the headings that label each of the above 4 areas that you're responding to. This process note should be at least 7 pages long and no more than 9 pages long, including your title page. And again, here's this rubric. So this is what I'm going to be using to grade your paper. So what I really encourage you to do is to grade your own paper. So you want to use this rubric as a guide as you're writing the paper. And then when you're done, I invite you to grade your own paper. So that way you can make sure that you're getting the points. You're making every step to make sure that you're following all of the guidelines, all the requirements here that are outlined for you in the rubric. So I look forward to reading your work. I hope that you have a peaceful rest of the week and that you enjoy this week's content, and I want you to be successful in our class. I'm here if you have questions.